The man developed a large rash after coming into contact with a stray dog. After a few hours, the man started coughing incessantly and was bedridden. The area where the rash appeared turned into black purulent carrion. What kind of virus is this? How will the man's condition progress? In the movie New Life, you will find the answers. It all begins with the man and his girlfriend, Jessie, going camping. Jessie and her boyfriend went camping near their home. They encountered a stray dog during their camping trip. The dog was adorable. They played with the dog for a while. However, after returning home, Jessie noticed something abnormal on her body. She observed several small red spots appearing on her skin. Jessie didn't pay much attention to them. She thought it was just a common allergic reaction. Her boyfriend also developed similar symptoms. In less than half a day, the red spots began spreading on her boyfriend's waist. At night, her boyfriend's condition worsened. He coughed incessantly, as if he had a severe illness. Jessie was very worried. She inadvertently stumbled upon a horrifying scene. The red spots on her boyfriend's waist had turned into necrotic flesh, extremely terrifying. At this moment, the two of them couldn't imagine that they would bring about a catastrophe to the world. An ambulance quickly arrived at their house. After getting on the vehicle, Jessie looked outside. She hoped to arrive at the hospital quickly. At the same time, she kept comforting her boyfriend. Before long, the ambulance reached its destination. However, after a while, there were no medical personnel to assist them. It seemed like they had arrived at a self-service hospital. Jessie looked outside in confusion. She was shocked to discover the ambulance had brought them to a dim warehouse. Suddenly, two individuals wearing yellow hazmat suits opened the doors. They grabbed Jessie and her boyfriend from the stretcher. They were immediately separated. Jessie was thrown into a sealed room. No matter how she screamed, there was no response. Every day, the staff would bring meager meals. When she asked the food delivery staff why they were being kept here, they responded with silence. On this day, Jessie decided to find a way to escape, so she shattered the chandelier in her room. The staff saw Jessie's room plunge into darkness, but they could detect signs of life. He sent a security guard to investigate. The guard assumed Jessie had passed out, so he didn't exercise much caution. At the moment he opened the door to enter, Jessie, who had been lying in wait beside the door, swiftly rushed out of the room. The guard hurriedly gave chase. Jessie slashed him with a broken glass bulb. He lost his mobility. Jessie found herself in a room filled with medical equipment. She saw her loved one lying on a bed. At the same time, she fearfully noticed her boyfriend's face was covered in black purulent carrion. Her boyfriend also saw Jessie outside the room. He hoarsely shouted, asking Jessie to help him escape. After numerous attempts, the password lock remained locked. The alarm was triggered. The alarms throughout the building are sounding. Jessie can only leave first. What she doesn't know is, shortly after she left, her boyfriend, who fell into a coma, suddenly opened his eyes and let out a crazed roar. In a non-human manner, after escaping from there, Jessie returned home. She put all the cash into her pocket. She also happened to see the engagement ring her boyfriend had hidden. Jessie was overwhelmed with mixed emotions, but now there is clearly no time to hesitate, because at that moment, there was a strange noise inside the house, as if a thief had entered the house. Jessie looked through the door crack. She saw two police officers holding handguns, searching for her whereabouts. She didn't have time to gather her belongings. She had to leave now. She put the ring on her finger. Jessie escaped through the window. Fortunately, there were no guards. She crouched down. She quickly escaped into the bed of a truck. Even though she didn't know where the owner of the truck was heading, it was still her best option. The authorities wouldn't scrutinize local trucks too much. At the same time, inside the police station, regarding Jessie's case, a special task force was organized, and without making it public, the next morning, the truck stopped at a gas station. After a night of running, the owner of the truck got off to relieve himself. After watching the owner's figure disappear, Jessie quickly crawled out. She took a pack of cookies from the truck and grabbed a map. She walked towards the forest behind the parking lot. After studying the map, Jessie decided to head to a neighboring country, because she knew in her heart, as long as she remained within the United States, she would be pursued by the police. She was prepared to head north. By evening, a day of walking left her exhausted. Jessie found a farmhouse. She fell asleep in the barn. However, the fact that she used the truck to escape had already been discovered by the police through surveillance. The next day, Jessie woke up slowly from a dreamless sleep. She didn't notice any signs of movement. She got up and searched the house for something to eat. Nevertheless, she was caught by the armed farmer. Since it was Jesse's first time stealing, she quickly apologized to the farmer. The farmer was an elderly man. Seeing her hungry appearance, he invited Jessie to have breakfast with him. The farmer's wife noticed the guest and prepared a generous meal. Jessie's eyes lit up. She eagerly devoured the food. The elderly couple watched her and smiled with satisfaction. After understanding the situation, the old man expressed understanding. They believed young people always encounter difficulties. Later, Jessie went to the bathroom to clean herself. Yet the farmer did something that they would regret for the rest of their lives. He ate the remaining bacon that Jessie left. Jessie cleaned up and prepared to leave. The old woman said the old man was already inspecting his old truck outside. The old man expressed his willingness to take her to a farther place. Jessie hesitated to refuse, so she followed the old man to the northernmost forest. She said goodbye to the old man. The old man took out a pre-prepared backpack. He said it was filled with things she would definitely need. Tears welled up in Jessie's eyes, but at this moment, she couldn't possibly imagine that she had caused devastating harm to the elderly couple. The female police officer's name was Lisa. She was originally an elite detective at the police station, but she was afflicted with L's. Her strong and indomitable character prevented her from reporting this matter to her superiors. Her superior had also concealed certain aspects of the assignment, only instructing Lisa to apprehend a fugitive carrier of the Ebola virus. Not long after Jessie and the old man separated, the Department of Cyber Technology discovered the interactions between her and the elderly couple. The boss ordered Lisa to take immediate action. Lisa grabbed her handgun and prepared to leave. Seeing a cane on the sofa, she didn't want to use crutches, but to increase efficiency, she tightly gripped it in her hand. Lisa arrived at the farm. She put on protective clothing. She noticed no one responded. She entered the house. She searched through all the rooms, but she didn't find the presence of the two elderly people. She discovered strange bloodstains in the kitchen sink. At that moment, Lisa saw the old lady running past the window. She shouted the old lady's name and chased after her. Following the footprints left by the old lady, Lisa arrived at the barn. She was shocked to see the old lady was crouching on the ground, sobbing in pain. Blood was flowing from his mouth. Seeing Lisa approaching, the old lady suddenly stood up. Lisa then noticed the old lady's face was covered in pustules, which was terrifying. It was extremely horrifying. She wanted to draw her gun, but she was tackled to the ground by the charging old man. His condition was even worse than the old lady's. At a critical moment, Lisa fired her gun, causing the old man to lose his life. Then she dealt with the old lady who intended to attack her. Lisa was gasping for breath heavily. It was only now that she understood the task her superior assigned to her was not to apprehend an Ebola patient, but a carrier of a terrifying unknown virus. Lisa immediately caught her superior. The boss realized there was no more hiding and confessed the truth about the situation. As it turned out, it was a large pharmaceutical company that was conducting research on a new drug and deliberately cultivating a virus, but an accident occurred during the experiment and infected one of the staff members. Although she was successfully isolated in the end, her dog went missing. The dog didn't actually run far. It encountered Jessie and her boyfriend outside, and that's how the rest of the story unfolded. Upon hearing that her boss was involved in such activities behind the scenes, an angry Lisa stated that she wanted to quit the mission, but the boss exposed Lisa's condition of having L's. Sending Lisa was because she was already beyond help. Although Lisa put up a tough front, she had never given up halfway through before. Jessie, who fled, had not shown any symptoms, most likely because she had antibodies to the virus in her body. She might be the key to solving this disaster. However, at this moment, Jessie had already arrived at a tavern and wanted to inquire about a part-time job there. The landlady, Molly, had been through a lot. Although she mentioned that they were fully staffed, she invited Jessie to have a drink with her, as she felt that Jessie was similar to herself back then, facing personal or emotional issues. After a while, the tavern closed. Molly and Jessie opened up to each other. They drank together like that. Molly made a huge mistake by sharing a glass with Jessie. After they had drunk quite a bit, Molly insisted that Jessie stay at her place for the night and leave when she had saved enough for her journey. The next morning, Jessie, who woke up sober, knocked on Molly's room door, but received no response. She went out alone to buy breakfast. While she didn't know that Molly had lost her ability to speak and could only make silent cries in bed. After buying breakfast, Jessie leisurely walked back on the street. She was suddenly drawn to a pet cat in a shop. This also made her suddenly think of her and her boyfriend's symptoms. It seemed like it's all caused by coming into contact with a pet dog while camping. Meanwhile, Lisa happened to drive a tractor down here and saw Jessie, feeling both surprised and delighted. Unexpectedly, the small cat inside the shop suddenly stood up and waved its front paws, as if trying to alert Jessie to something unusual. Jessie also noticed the pursuer and immediately started running. Lisa didn't even have time to put on her protective suit. She only had a mask with her and chased after her. Perhaps Jessie was not afraid of Lisa, who crouched. As Jessie got further and further away, Lisa took out her handgun, ordering Jessie to stop. Unexpectedly, Jessie ran even faster after getting scared. Lisa accidentally fell to the ground. When she stood up, Jessie had already disappeared without a trace. On the other hand, after escaping, Jessie planned to go back and say goodbye to Molly, but found that Molly was still motionless. One of a woman's biggest weaknesses is curiosity. Curious, Jessie opened Molly's room door and was horrified to discover Molly's bed was covered in bloodstains, and at that moment, she was lying face down in a pool of blood. Her entire body was covered in the same pustules as her boyfriend. Jessie was unaware of the elderly couple's ordeal, so she thought that only she and her boyfriend were affected by the illness, but now she realized it could harm others. Desperate, Jessie cried out as she returned downstairs to pack her belongings. Suddenly, a strange sound came from upstairs, and she instantly felt a spark of hope. When she entered Molly's room once again, there was still no sign of any movement. While she was lost in thought, Molly, covered in blood, suddenly rushed out of the room, and Jessie was pushed against the wall. She grabbed a large book nearby to shield herself. Then she delivered a heavy blow, temporarily creating some space. During this momentary gap, she quickly ran downstairs. She grabbed a frying pan and knocked Molly down as she caught up. Until now, Jessie finally understood why the authorities had gone to such lengths to capture her. Amidst despair and resentment, she cried out in anguish. But soon, Jessie made a horrifying discovery. She had a handful of hair in her hand. She touched her head in a daze and realized her own hair was starting to fall out. With a gentle tug, strands of hair would detach from her body. Before long, Lisa tracked down Molly's residence in her car and saw Molly lying on the floor. Lisa speculated Jessie is likely continuing north. Her ultimate destination should be Canada. This time, she wore protective gear. She found Jessie in a warehouse near the border. Then, Lisa was shocked because Jessie had no hair on her head and had developed numerous black pustules on her face. Apparently, the supposed antibody carrier actually had no antibodies. People knew nothing about this virus, so anything could happen. Jessie's condition was likely rare and prolonged due to the virus's long incubation period. Lisa didn't give up. She wanted Jessie to stay calm and come back with her for treatment. Perhaps there might be a way to cure her. Nevertheless, no matter how Lisa persuaded her, Jessie remained unmoved and even attempted to overpower Lisa. Finally, Lisa pulled the trigger. Jessie looked at the spot where she had been shot and was astonished to discover that her pain nerves had been almost completely destroyed by the virus. She could no longer feel the pain. She turned her head and glanced at the towering snow-capped mountains in the distance, then suddenly turned and rushed out. Lisa wanted to stop her, but her view was obstructed by the moistened visor of her protective mask. As she watched Jessie running further and further away, Lisa decisively discarded her mask. She dropped to one knee, held her breath, and focused. She fired a shot that hit Jessie's thigh tendon, causing her to fall to the ground immobilized. Until the very last moment, Lisa still tried to persuade Jessie to come back with her, because many people would die because of her. Jessie expressed that she had never intended to harm anyone and didn't want to go back to that cabin. Lisa immediately told Jessie about the death of her boyfriend and the elderly couple, which caused Jessie to collapse. She muttered that she still wanted to see more places. Lisa was also deeply moved by this statement. What she had in common with Jessie was that she had an incurable disease herself, so she could actually understand Jessie's feelings at that moment. Jessie used her last bit of strength to try to get up and escape. Lisa pulled the trigger one last time. In fact, Lisa fully understood why Jessie was so terrified and why she wanted to escape to distant places. She held Jessie's hand and accompanied her through the last few minutes of her life. Having completed this mission, Lisa regained prestige at the police station, and she began actively engaging in her own treatment. On this day, she had a meeting with a private physician. As they were discussing the related treatment options, the doctor suddenly started coughing violently. At this point, the film ends. The movie New Life is a horror film directed by John Rossman, in which he tells the story of the protagonist, Jessie, is afflicted with an unknown virus and carries this virus. The encounter she has during her escape. As a horror film with a virus theme, it is not a typical zombie movie. The main theme of the film is, in the long journey of life, there will come a day when we are all alone, and our choices at that time will be crucial. I believe this is an excellent film, worth spending less than an hour and a half to watch.